for gaming, get
We're live.
we're live. King
I got
Arthur
good game.
Sale. I'm addicted to it. Tactical combat.
We've just started. Welcome everyone. Sorry, we're just talking about streaming off there. Yeah, we're started. We're back streaming on PC. We do a bit of and all kinds of stuff. So Grok got involved.
How are you all? Everyone well?
Yeah, going well. Thanks yourself.
Oh fuck, mate! Did I? You know me. If anyone can gather what my personality type is, I'm very much come at me. So when we won the 17 flag, God, did I give it back, mate? For 25 years, copying it in the ass, I gave it back to everyone and sundry, everyone, 10 times over. So did I cop it last week? And it fucking ramp up. And mate, I'm in work. Everyone's got North. Fucking my boss put the North anthem on, the theme song. He's not even a North supporter. Throughout the whole fucking office block, right? Because I work for Alsco. We've got like a huge, mate, that was going on. We had people giving it to me. And, mate, I just kept on coming back with, when was the last time you won a flag? You went, fighting back. But fucking wasn't a good day. Not a good day.
Jesus. Grok, how are you, mate? You going well?
Yeah, I'm good. I was lucky. I had a 30th birthday Saturday night, which had an open bar. So I was lucky. I managed to drink the blues away. So
stupid. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so I was lucky.
Yeah, well, 8 in a row for me. 8 in a row, which is great.
For the
we're getting there.
Tigers still the last team to beat them.
Welcome to everyone tuning in as well. Much appreciated for our Monday night therapy session number 2. Didn't think we'd be coming back for a second session just quietly. So we'll count this one as a buy one, get one free, bit of a gift for you all.
Yeah.
Here we go. Just real early from Pat to see Magpie 71. Because when he wants free on potato tonight, I'm waiting for him at Southern Cross State.
Called Serha a potato last week.
Anyway, we'll get into the game and why I still think they're potatoes. We just fucking more potato. We're playing.
And people laughed at me for flagging this as a danger game. It had danger written all over it. And this was before Noble got sacked. As soon as I found out that, I didn't think Mac was going to play because of the PCL. Thought it was going to be a bit of a danger game. And then the coach thing on top of it, that's twice they've done it to us now. That's twice that they've sacked a coach and the next week come out and belted us. I know they only won by a few points, but they touched us up, all over the ground. In a game we shouldn't have lost. It was, pretty disheartening.
It's funny because I saw a little thing floating around on Twitter. The last time Gold Coast beat us by 2 points with a kick after the siren, North knocked us off by 2 points the week after. And that was in 2014. Yeah.
I think the last 4 games we've lost, all of them combined, is something like 15 points, something stupid like that. Or the last 3 games is, including Geelong.
Average, 3.75 points. Yeah.
It's just. Look, for me, I'm pretty vocal. I think if we're talking about the game, I'm in 2 minds, right? What I mean by that is I don't think the coaching's a fault at all. I think the coaching system that we have and what's being trained into the guys is getting us these leads. I reckon the coaching is but in saying that, what's letting us down, and this goes on the coaching group too, is this selection. I got pilled on Twitter. 2 weeks ago when I cried out and I said, stop picking these limited footballers. If we're in a transition year, which we are, and this is no disrespect to their past glories, Castagna and look, we've got Arts who's no real past glory, but those ilk, we've seen their level. We know what they produced. They're good if you've got no one left to play and you just have to play them. But we've got quality kids in our system. Cumberland has shown what he can do. That's why I defended him last week. Fucking Sonzi, right? Sonzi showed he was clean. His decision-making was down. His ability by hand and foot. Obviously, there was a few content. It was his first game. For a first gamer, it was A grade for me for a first gamer, particularly too when we were getting smashed in the centre like we were. These are the type of players. I want Banks to get a go instead of Arts. I want Brown to get a go instead of Arts. If you're going to play him in a forward pocket, put a kid in. It's not like you're asking to play as a full back or where you need that like for like. So I think it cost us as well, not Arts only. We were down for a large chunk. It took us.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I've seen a lot of people potting Arts, and while the mistake was there, yes, realistically, it should never, ever come down to the last 30 seconds of that game. We should have been on top of them from the start all the way throughout, and it wouldn't have been an issue. I know he should have stopped. That's fair enough. But to pick him up as the whipping boy, I don't think fair in this situation. I think the result shouldn't have been in that position for that to happen.
Yeah, it's just a lack of composure. That's all it was, and that's 2 weeks in a row now where he missed that open goal running in, 20 out last week against Gold Coast. So I think it's just showing that he's, as Tig71 said, it's just limited. His composure is now costing us in big moments. It didn't necessarily cost us the game, but that was a big moment, and he just failed, and it's becoming a bit of a theme with him now.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, for me, I talk about my comments are about the now. It's not what they did 3 years ago. Like for example with George. If George gets back into the side and he's regained form and touch, beautiful. But he hasn't. And if anyone sits there to say that he hasn't. His pressure acts at the bottom four of the club in the games that he's played. He scores on goal. His aerial ability is not what people suggest it is, though it's good for a small. The reason why I'm hard on him is because there was Maurice Rioli in the ranks. Now, he's shown what he obviously got dropped last week, but he showed what he could do in relation to pressure. We need to just get a point of difference in this forward line, and if our senior core group aren't performing, we need to give an opportunity for a kid while we're in transition. I need to say this again, while we're in a development year.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because you look at disposal-wise, I mean, realistically, Maurice Rioli and Castagna and Arts probably aren't too much different in terms of the actual disposal numbers. But it's, what do the pressure acts look like? What do goal assists look like? What's perceived pressure look like? And that's what you have to kind of weigh up, I suppose.
It's the quality of disposal too.
Can I defend Nank for a second? I saw a comment about Nank. He's got a lot of chance for. He's playing with a damaged PCL, right?
Shouldn't play. Don't play then.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've got no one, right? The reality is we've got no one, right? And Dim is very big on, like, I reckon he's saying, well, look, 80% Nank or 70% Nank is better than no Nank, right? Fuck, mate, let's talk about it if we can segue into this. Umpire 31. I don't know if Nank smashed his car leading up to the game, but there was a 10-minute period where he first false reported him. It wasn't a knee to the head when it wasn't even done. Then straight after that, he pulled out 3 or 4 straightaway free kicks in the centre. And they were just standard ruck contests. Free kick, free kick, free kick. Now, it didn't cost us the game. I'm not saying, we'll umpire out of the game. But what I'm saying is mentally what that does to a player, hold on, I can't even go out and contest the ball. And then what we did, I think the last 5 or 10 minutes, we put Bolter in the ruck. We changed the ruck to get Nank out of there. That was deplorable. What were your thoughts? Did you guys see it?
Yeah, I've noticed this with Nank throughout this year, and it annoys the hell out of me because when the umpire bounces the ball, it doesn't go straight up. Generally, a lot of the times that Nank gives the free kick away, the ball sways above Nank's head. So he has to stop, and at that point, he's a sitting duck. He has to brace himself because the opposition's going to jump into him. They're penalising a bloke who's trying to protect himself. And this is where I think it's absolutely shit. Because if they're going to penalise a ruckman for standing their ground and brace for contact, they need to get rid of the bounce. Throw it up so it goes completely straight. Otherwise, a ruckman needs to genuinely be able to sort of plant, stand, block, and then try and tap the ball. Otherwise, they're just going to start copping knees to the ribs and injuries when they're told to stand there and just do nothing. It's ridiculous.
Just on that, Peter, I don't want people to get confused with no one's blaming the umps for the loss.
No one's blaming the umpires.
I think we're allowed to critique decisions that were blatantly stupid. It's very, very common knowledge that the only people who are at fault here are the Richmond Footballers for not winning that game. Right. Nothing else really matters. But it doesn't, like, there was a few free kicks that were paid against Nank, and you're like, hang on, well, what was that for? I think we're allowed to point that out. That's not blaming the lot. That's just pointing out that it can have impacts on players' confidence, what they think they can and can't do, and there's other repercussions. I think it's okay to discuss those because we're not using them as excuses.
Yeah, and that's why I sort of mean not blaming the umpire. They did not cost us the game. But look, on what you said, Grock, Nank is a block ruckman. What I mean by that is he's not a jumper, right? He's not knick-knack. What he generally does is plants his feet. He knows he takes the jump away from the actual ruckman. That's what he does. It looked like to me, I love your opinion on it, but did it look like to me, I don't know if there was a change in instruction from HQ, but it looked like they were penalising that type of play. I watched a few other rounds to see if it was an overall rule thing, but that one umpire, when he was in the centre, it looked like you can't, that's blocking. As soon as you plant your feet, don't care if your eyes on the ball, you're blocking the jump. Sorry, not allowed. And that for me just that was deplorable. Again, we're talking about a microcosm in a whole game here, but that really stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, the one thing that really stuck out with me, and I'd say more than arts, that moment, was our lack of leadership from our so-called leaders close in games, and it's happening time and time again. Like we saw Nank missing that shot he probably should have taken. We saw Grimes getting absolutely towed up by Zerha. Gave away a dumb free kick as well. Cochin, that free kick, that goal that Zerha kicked to win them the game. Cochin saw Zerha running through the contest and just stood there, put a half-hearted little block on, but didn't go with him. And that's the thing. It's our on-field leaders. And then, of course, you got Jack kicking 2 goals, 6. It's our on-field leaders time and time again that are failing. And it doesn't help that our younger players who have had amazing seasons in Baker, in Bolton, in Short, in Rioli, all had probably their worst games for the season.
Yeah.
Pickett, another one who's had a ripping season, who had a very disappointing game. Like, it's these 5 players that we've relied on over the last 2.5, 3 months, where it's the older players who are skating by without criticism, and I don't think that's fair. It's our senior leaders right now who are failing.
Oh, look, we had across the board, everyone, a bad game across all of them. Keep in mind, Cochin's just come back he was probably cooked. I saw that in the last quarter. I reckon he was cooked. But again, I'll naturally look at the body of work Cochin's given. If we're going to defend Castagna as some sort of glory hero, let's do the same thing for our captain, our ex-captain. I reckon he was just cooked. For me, leading into this, all right, the elephant in the room was our inaccuracy. It was 33 to 22 scoring shots. That's only Richmond could do that to themselves, right? And Hardwick said it perfectly in the press conference. Very short press conference, but he said it perfectly. The side we put out there is a capable side. It's a lot better than what it's performing. But it's Richmond beating Richmond at the moment. And I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think North took the game away from us. When you've got 33 shots on goal to 22 shots, you got 68 50s to 30-something, 40-something. That's a domination, right? That's generally a regulation 6-7 goal win, particularly in a park like Metricon. We just had one out of the box. So I saw an interesting tweet. Taylor, this credit goes to you. It showed actually, I'll correctly quite, it won't take me long, but what it is, it's a table of, I don't buy into these things too much, but it's worth noting. It's called the expected score ladder, right? They all go on about it. It's what a lot of betting agencies. Richmond, for all games played, Richmond's actually second on the ladder. So if we, believe it or not, it's Geelong, Richmond, Melbourne, Collingwood is the top 4, right? Our points for is literally 200 points higher than any other side. That includes Melbourne at 16-15, right? So that shows this offensive movement that Teague obviously brought in is having an effect. My real concern, out of all the top 8, we can see the most points, even on that predictive ladder. So for me, it's all about midfield and defence for me. We went into this season and my biggest worry was our midfield. We're a pressure injury away from being absolutely decimated. Now, people are going at Grimes, as, it's a leader. Yes, he's made some crucial mistakes that are probably highlighted because everyone's dropped off in that back line. But they've dropped off because they're getting crucified with the amount of low pressure in the midfield. Yeah, Jack Graham working his fucking ass off. One of his best games. Everyone else was not performing, Presley was still down. I don't know if he's still going. It was just his second week in a row from his standards. And the ball's just getting pumped in. But very hard to defend for them to hold what they've holding. They're performing admirably. Vlosten's first game back after a report, it took him a while to work into it, and I don't think he clicked all of it. So our major problem for me is I don't look at this year and go, it's a write-off. I look at this year and go, you know what? If we somehow address this midfield quickly, I reckon we can fix a lot of this, because 90% of our game is sound. 90% of our game is sound. It's all here. It's the discipline acts.
Which is annoying, because the mental part of the game was something we were so strong at for, the last 3 or 4 years. And
where is Emma? Is she still at the club? What the fuck is going on? Some of the basic 50s. We've conceded 37 50s for the year. Yeah,
it's getting a bit out of control. But look, we're still somehow in the 8, Rock, and that's I don't know how we're still in the 8, but we're there. Well, we'll take a look at some of the younger kids quickly, because despite how shit the overall outcome was, there were definitely some minor highlights and wins for us. Noah Cumberland, Grock, I thought he had another good game. 4 behind's a bit disappointing, but 3 goals was good. And despite the end outcome of that play at the end with Arts not finishing it, but Cumberland taking that mark and the urgency he showed, he wanted to win that game. He knew what he had to do, and pinpoint pass. And look, I honestly won't be shocked if he doesn't play next week, because he looked very sore. Like, I was sitting front row, and when he was walking around the forward pocket, he was sort of limping and struggling. He was battling on, and I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's why I was so hyped to get him into the side, because he's a match winner. He is a genuine match winner. He's proven it at VFL level time and time again. Yes, he's been a little inaccurate. I do think that may be just some mental pressure, in that he's like, I need to convert to hold my place, sort of thing. But the pleasing thing for me was his defensive efforts. He had 4 tackles. He was 3rd for us over the course of the game, behind Vlosten and Pickett, in terms of tackles. And there was one passage of play where he had 4 or 5 repeat efforts on a half forward flank, and it's just like, people criticizing him, calling him lazy, but the thing is, he does it. It's just, he's more of an offensive weapon. But yeah, just seeing him, he even went through the midfield. He had 2 clearances going through the midfield, and that kick to to Arts in that last 2 minutes off half back just shows you the kind of player he is. That fantastic overhead contested mark, and then that 60-meter bomb to Arts that hit him lace out. He's got a lot of weapons, that kid, and I think we're better off persisting with him.
I liked him. I liked him a lot. And then obviously Tig's been calling for Sonzi to come in for the best part of 2 months now. And I know you sort of spoke about him at the start, but even just his first few kicks, he was in the right spots, they were clearing kicks. But then is he left-footed or right-footed? I'm not actually too sure.
He's both,
because he was running along the boundary line on his left side a few times and just looked really natural and comfortable, like what Baker does. And that seems to be a bit of an art form that a lot of juniors are forgetting to do when they're coming through, is to use both sides of their body. And I thought Sonzi fitted in quite well, and the exposure he's gotten's good. And I think it's very early call because it's 1 game, but it feels like he's the kind of kid who's going to grow and develop at a quicker rate playing at AFL level against the better players than he is at the VFL level.
Yeah, I think the reason, in fairness, even though we've played him really, really late, I think because his body was different from when seeing him than when he first came to the club. They've obviously slimmed him right down, got rid of a lot of that excess weight that he was carrying because of his injury history coming to the club, which was sound management of him. Yeah, but he's an inside-outside mid, which are rare. Some excel inside and struggle outside. And he's like a really taller version of Prestia. That's what I see him developing into. Prestia is good on the inside, but also good on the outside. Sonzi has that as a weapon, but what's his feature is his kicking in congestion, and he showed that. He was getting immense pressure on, but could still get a penetrating kick out of space. More often than not, either to advantage or clearing the line to give us time and pause to breathe. Some of his quick hands, there was a point, I would love to say there was a goal shot, but it was a shot on goal that led from him getting a contested possession and quickly releasing the ball out within a second into a play who did the running kick at goal and obviously scored a point.
He didn't panic. He was good.
Yeah, he didn't panic. He kept his head. He wasn't overawed, but look, he's playing North, but he wasn't overawed by the occasion as well. So now we've got to play him all year as his body allows. I've been worried that we're playing Gibcus way too much because he's a young body, but we've got to give the same type of. There's 4 kids. People, I watch a fair bit of juniors, but a couple of my contacts actually watch them as part of their job. We've got the top 20 picks of last year's draft. Obviously we didn't get them all in the top 20, but they've been rated as high as top 20 in Banks, Brown, Gibcus, and Sonzi. During the years that they've got as high as that before they were picked. We need to play the 4. Why? We need to start playing our senior players that are aging in spurts only. Right? Yeah. If it means we tumble down a ladder a little bit, so be it. But we need to start throwing games into these kids while we've got the leaders there to educate. At the moment, going back to lack of leadership, what we're doing really poorly, this is said to me by a coach of another club, we're getting our leaders, our older players, to play way too many minutes. That's what's happening, and they're exhausted. Right? I challenge anyone that's you're fair and fatigued, how good your leadership's going to be when you're completely just absolutely knackered. But you have to stay up on the ground. And teams know it. That's why we dominate sides for two and a half quarters, and then that's it. The gas goes out. The other thing too that was pointed out to me, which is real true, and I'm not excusing the club here. I'm just stating a fact. We've had about 12 to 14 players that have played in the last 3 years, but more than a 5-year period that have played all games together. Now, obviously, they're starting to age, and some of those numbers have dropped off because of injury and the like. Those coming in haven't had that consistency of game time. You had the COVID, you had, in and out of the side, all that sort of stuff, all the young and inexperienced, like Miller's howlers. A couple of howlers, but that's not on Miller only. He's going to learn from those. I'll cop that from Miller. I was really disappointed. People say, don't play Miller again, blah, 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 blah. He's a kid. But really, where was Broad? Where was Vlosten? Where was Grimes getting around him saying, hey, this and this and this and this? Maybe it happened after the game. But the reason I don't see it on the field, I seriously think, because they're freaking exhausted. Because they're going to play 4 minutes, else we get scored against.
This is the thing. I do think they were exhausted because no one's mentioned it yet, but we played one man down that whole quarter. Yeah. Gibcus didn't play at all the last quarter. And, of course, Arts came on just before the end of the third quarter. So we were playing a man down in that last quarter, and North ran over the top of us. So, it's that. But with Sonzi, he's came out. Obviously, he was a massive Richmond supporter. He's came out and said he modelled his game on early Koch when Koch first started as that mid. And I do see the similarities with the way that he disposes of the ball and his sort of running style. He's very much like a Koch, back 2011, 2012. But yeah, Miller's goal, absolute ripper. And the timing of that as well. It was Baker and Miller that really nailed those goals that we needed when we needed them. If they didn't nail those, if they had to miss those two, I don't think we get to within 2 points or even take the lead.
We definitely missed some absolute sitters though as well along the journey, which didn't help. The other player I want to give a shout out to again is Robbie Tarrant. I thought he had another really, really good game. Kept Larky, I think, goals. I don't think he scored one. So on the back of a big performance, but you could tell that Tarrant had a point to prove with the way he played that game against his old side. And I thought he was one of the few that could hold his head up high with his defensive efforts. I thought he got a timely fist in pretty much every contest he was involved in. Yeah.
Look, I felt bad for him too because, reinforcing one of the posters' points here, it's not like we played this game against North and they just smashed us off the park, right? They were on top of us, well on top of us in that when they got up to 32 points. But back off our turn. See, when you're scoring points, you're giving the ball back to the opposition. And then you do that at Marvel, you get crucified. So part of that, it wasn't them just generally dominating, but then we absolutely went into turbo mode but ran out of steam. But But with Tarrant, he would have been seeing this on the ground. He's keeping his area effective. My only knock, and it's been my consistent knock with Tarrant, but look, I give him a lot of slack for it because he's at a new club. But he's such an experienced defender. But he's a one-on-one defender, if that makes any sense. It's only his man. He really rarely affects those around him. He's showed glimpses of it again where he will do that big spoil or go off his man and do that big spoil. In my mind, he doesn't do that enough, and we needed that when against Metricon, and he didn't offer it as much as he did. Gold Coast was perfect. He was doing that a fair bit. So maybe is that because he's getting tired too. But I'm Ratbird has gone, look, he's been great for us, but I don't know what the fuck's happened the last 3 years. Do not know what's happened. We've gone from the best medical team in the AFL in the conditioning aspect, keeping our players up, putting loads in them, to now hamstring. It is. I'm just wrapped the club's identified it. Right? That's what I'm wrapped. The club's identified it. But look, guys, if we somehow get into this is what my point is. I reckon there's fixable issues we've got. I reckon if we somehow fix the midfield leakage that we've got, lack of pressure, if we can get a lift in that area, don't know how he's going to do it, but he's full-time premiership coach. Sorry, 3-time premiership coach. Finals is a new season. It doesn't matter where you finish, first or eighth. Bulldogs proved that. Who knows? There's always hope, but fuck, it hurt yesterday.
Yeah. One thing that I want to raise with you guys is, do you think Dimmer's comments about us not liking Marvel has come back to bite us in the arse?
No.
I think that's some. I think honestly, like, since he said that, we haven't won a game at Marvel.
Oh, no, Grok, I respect you, man, and I'm not taking which way I'm coming.
But
That's
but what I'm saying is, I personally think that that's something that the opposition will feed on. They don't like playing here. This is our turf.
Yeah, maybe not from our
particularly,
players, but the other team. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that plays with. I think that's something that opposition.
They find it a level because they think we're a bit.
Pissy.
Do you seriously think, you two, do you seriously think North Melbourne players would go in there and go, you know what, we're a fucking chance here. Richmond hate Marvel. Do you seriously think that's what they were thinking going into the game?
If you're trying to find an extra 1 or 2%, why wouldn't you?
No,
if that's your mentality.
Yeah. My belief is that our game plan was built for the G. Right? That's what our game plan was built for the G. So Hardwick's looked at Marvel and going, okay, that ground, which is a little bit smaller, we're going to play majority of the games at the G, and if we do travel, it's going to be MCG-sized grounds, which is the Gabba and Optus Oval. So, yeah, if it means we lose half of our games at Marvel, fuck it. Let's concentrate on these sides. This is our method of ball movement, method of play, method of defence, and the like, and we'll just do small alterations. I reckon that's more it that will dictate our record than our players going in, oh, shit, we hate Marvel, fuck it. Oh, let's just go half-assed. We are vulnerable, always have been, even our premiership years, to fast attacking sides that can actually fast attacking sides that go deep. We always have been. In our prime, we could feast on their turnovers, but we hated shootouts. That's what we saw again on the weekend. They just were accurate. They would not fucking miss. And we kicked points. You can't win a game with 22 points. Yeah, so I think, I just seriously think our game plan is built for MCG. It's great to say anywhere, anytime.
It shouldn't matter. Like at Marvel, no win conditions. There's no excuse for kicking that many inaccurate points. Some of them were just regulation, run-of-the-mill goals. But to answer your question, Dario, we haven't really forgotten Bolter, but why is he being played forward? I think because there wasn't really an evident matchup for him down back, and we probably needed to try and stretch them ourselves. So I think playing him forward in this particular contest made sense because Tarrant had Larky, and then Brody had Zeeble, Grimes, Zerha. Maybe they could have switched him down there when things weren't going our way, but we also have to try and be mindful we have to score ourselves. And I don't know whether Jack's just been a little bit more immobile lately, but it's been easier for teams to kind of shut him out. So I think having very mobile forward like Bolter or Gibcus when he was down there early on was going to be helpful.
Yeah, to be fair though, Jack is copping a lot off the ball. The amount of holds, there was one blatant one in the game, and we saw it against Geelong with De Koning as well, like coming down with Jack in a headlock and nothing getting paid. I think Jack's getting a bit of a raw deal from the umps, and it's one of those ones where I sort of see why, because of how often, let's be honest, he does sook when he doesn't get a free kick. He hasn't done anything to endear himself. He's sort of in that Toby Green situation now where I don't want to say there's like an agenda against it, but it's almost, and you can throw Ginnivan in there now as well. There's almost like that perception that he's done something to aggravate the umps, or he is seen as a sook or a stage or a dive or whatever the situation may be. And now the umps aren't rewarding it. And I think that's unfair on Jack. But the thing is, though, he's getting infringed. And if he gets the free kicks that our defenders give away, because our defenders get pinged for every little thing. I mean, there was one where we got a free kick for... Jack gave away a free kick for Shepherd on the goal line a few weeks ago. That's the first one that was paid this year and it hasn't been paid since. Like, so these little things, the 50-50s in the decisions that our forwards don't get compared to what our defenders give away, that's a bit of an issue.
One thing for me is they didn't shut Jack out either, because he had 8 scoring shots on goal. That's a feast, Freddie. He just was. See, we just had a bad game. We had too many down at the same time. It happened to happen against North. I reckon, maybe because North is 18th, we are susceptible to that. 18th on the ladder versus 8th. We should win this. And when we woke up, we showed what we could do, but we were, by that stage, the inaccuracy rot had set in, and it was just a perpetual false prophecy. We just got to hope next week we kick a few goals early, a few shots. If we kick 3 points before scoring a goal, my God. But the biggest problem, I think, I love what the audience thinks too, but for me, that's making me want to drive my car off a fucking bridge, right? Is our tackling is probably the most putrid of any AFL side, any competitive side I've ever seen. Now, we were never like this, right? And I don't know if we're in court in this is, I'm mentioning it because what you talked about the umpires. I don't know if we've gone, okay, we're infringing way too much. Change our tackle technique. And we've done it mid-season. So the players are now not doing their natural form of tackling and going another way, and they're going into wide or missing the guy altogether where we used to beeline the body, often give a free kick if need to, but now they're going off to the side and going one arm to try to hug him in. It's a fucking mess. It is an absolute mess. If you get kids streaming past you, and that happened about 8 or 9 times where they break or tackle and just continue going, that's alarm bells to me.
Yeah, and I think that factors into the way we defended, because we fell into the trap again on the weekend of what we did last year where we sucked too many up to the contest with the ball carrier. And I think that's a lack of belief in our tackle technique now, because we're getting 2 or 3 players come up to the ball carrier to try and pressure and tackle, leaving an outlet handball over the top and out 2 or 3 of the opposition players in space. And it happened time and time again against the Kangaroos where they'd flick that 10-meter handball out at the back of the pack or to the side of the pack, and they were out in space. And I think, again, just poor tackle technique solves that issue.
Yeah. It's crazy because we used to go the body. We used to always do it, and we were quite effective at it. We'd go the body to neutralise the contest, even if they got a bad ball out. We had another reinforcement coming in at the end. So even though we're outnumbered, we would then push the ball forward. We've stopped doing it because they're just running it out way too easily. Yeah. And the player who's trying to do the tackle is now out of it because he's either gone too wide and fallen over or tried to tackle him with one arm and he's spun himself around and has fallen over. I hope this is a game. Sometimes you do get the watershed moment games. I thought Gold Coast hopefully would have been it. Well, I hope it's this one when they do that review today. That review I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall because there were so many good things we did, but so many glaring poor discipline in relation to the application to the contest that we've not displayed for a long, long time. And we did it against North. We're still by some miracle in the 8. Hopefully we can address it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. And Glenn, I was going to raise this one as well, mate.
Yeah.
Spot on. The pressure rating is just complete rubbish. And this might sound counterproductive, but I'm actually glad we didn't end up winning because it might have papered over a few cracks. Like it might have masked how shit we actually played for bulk of that game.
Yeah.
They do need a bit of a wake-up call, and they do need to address quite a few things because what they put out was unacceptable. And, yeah, we're still in the 8, and that's a good thing, but we have to play a hell of a lot better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and pressure rating there is something that we can fix. It's something that we can fix because it just shows that we're not either going in hard enough or we're not, doing the defensive structure things that we normally do. But there was one thing that I saw during the game that just showed the mindset was early in the game when we sort of had that 4 goals in a row against North to start the game, we were hitting up the leading targets inside 50. We were lowering our eyes and hitting up that kick, to the 40-meter inside the corridor with Graham and things like that, taking marks. Towards the end of the day, as someone mentioned earlier, it was long 3-on-1 to Jack. And it's just that shift in just get the ball long. It's just panic and dumb football. I think, as if North Melbourne, they flooded back.
Yes,
They would have had 17 players in our defensive 50, but if they're blocking that space deep, there's going to be space up leading forward to the 50. And I think we sort of adapted that in the last quarter where we're hitting those marks and taking the shots from the 50-meter arc. We started hitting up that free play on the 50-meter line there, but it was just, I think it was 60 minutes too late, that shift. Just dumb football. It was the same as Gold Coast last week, just long 3-on-1 to Jack, and that's how it went for 3 quarters. It's just dumb football. It doesn't work. So I think that's certainly, I think, something that Dimmer does need to address is if it's not working, we need to switch. But it's also on the players to realise that at a game sense, well, this isn't working. What can I do with the ball to try and do something?
Yeah, the thing is with that, Gold Coast did it against us. They flooded. Like in a lot of their games, they had a full. So obviously the North is copy that. The thing what I can't understand is we've got a method of play. It's generally to combat the flood. There's a reason why teams don't flood normally now. They do it in fits and spurts if they have to stem bleeding. And it's normally if you're getting scored against, not like how common North were doing it. They were doing it it exhausts one to do it. But two, if we just have to share the ball around the arse, just keep on passing it, getting them to move and shift, then kick that deep penetrating kick in the goal square. Maybe someone will infringe and a goal will come from that. But hope that they kick the ball out and we just have the wall set up and it just stays in there, and you end up scoring. We didn't do that. We were trying to do these fucking laser apart, fucking 10 meters. We're not that type of style. So I don't know how much is – we didn't improve our coaching department in my mind. Yeah, we got Teague in, which I'm still – there's good and I think bad in that, but more good than bad. But outside of that, my worry is that because of the cap that we've not really replaced Truck. We're losing Lepper and McRae at the same time hurt. That really hurt. Teague's not the factor of it. Lepper and McRae. So we're obviously going hunting again. The cap's gone up by 600,000, 500,000. Benny and Peggy, I know, are favourite listeners to the show. Mate, play over the cap. Get to quality coaches. It's showing at the moment. I think we've all got one voice. They've heard McQualter. They've heard the 2 other coaches we have had over and over and over again, plus Dimmer. We need to get that extra energy back into the club.
Yeah, and Peter Burge gone now as well at the end of the season.
Which is great. Which I think is a positive. I think is a positive. I reckon he got creative in the off season because he's been with us for so long, but it's backfired awfully.
I mean, I see comments here from Warren and Glenn about Teague. Yeah, Teague has been a positive. You have a look at our scoring. We're now the 2nd or 3rd highest scoring team in the league. It's our defensive structures and our inability to do the defensive transitions that we were known for that are failing us. It's nothing to do with the forward line. It's the midfield mainly.
Damien, I've heard that. I've heard that, Greg. We've gone hammer. I heard Chris Newman, Greg, and a few others. Hopefully one of those will come around. We need a young, zestful, Richmond type man to come in. Doesn't have to be from an ex-player, but yeah, most definitely we do. Sorry, Grock, for cutting you off. I just
that's all good.
Yeah, but
all right. Before we get on to the Freo game, I do just want to say, if the gentleman who was at the ground watches this show, who thought it was necessary to abuse a Richmond female staffer who was walking the boundary after the game while dragging his 4-year-old son in tow, please ring up and cancel your membership tomorrow. Folks, whoever's at the game, while the loss is disappointing, it's shit. It is what it is. There is zero need to hang over the fence and abuse players, coaches, let alone staffers who have zero influence on the outcome of the game. It's just an embarrassment for all other Richmond supporters. We're better than that. And I encourage anyone, if you see that kind of behaviour, please call it out. Don't let people get away with doing things like that, because it sets a bad example for all the other kids who are there as well. So, it's disappointing to see that. And, end of the day, it's just a game, right? I know it hurts when you lose and it's frustrating, but zero need to do that. Not good. So if you're watching, hand your membership in. Don't want you.
Yeah, great. Especially to someone that has had no influence on the result and is most likely a volunteer at the club giving up their own time. Like, just ridiculous. Some people, he's an ankle, absolute ankle.
Yeah, crazy shit. All right. Actually, before we do the Freo one, the VFL, I think we ended up getting over the line. I didn't see a lot of it because I was in and out doing stuff, but the bits I did see that sort of made my ears prick up was Biggie in the ruck. I know, because we didn't have much choice because Samson Ryan was obviously waiting to see what happened with Nank. But Biggie's ruck work I actually quite liked it. I thought he did quite well from the parts I saw. Did you guys watch it?
I've seen highlights of it. To be honest with you, Biggie, he's got that height. He's got that mobility. He's raw. Look, I like that. He's got a bit of a tank too. So, look, for us, we haven't got, and I love Nank. He's one of my, I was saying, why don't make him captain in the beginning of the year, in the off-season. I put his name up, if you recall. So I rate him really, really highly. But we don't have a high-quality ruckman. So let's embrace what we have. We've got a warrior in the ruck. Let's get fucking someone that can jump, run. He might lose a tap, but he can run like a gazelle and do freaky things around the ground. Our mids are smart enough to read the tap, right? We've always got dominated in tap outs. I don't think we only win one rarely, if any. So I'd love that experiment to continue. I'm again with the Ryan camp that the only thing Ryan's got over Biggie is his height. That's dead set for me. From the small things that I saw from Biggie, give it a go. We've got nothing to lose. But get Banks and Brown and Clark in the team. Get them in the side, please. Hardwick, get them in the side. I'll stop harping on about that. They've got to get them all in the side.
Did you catch any of the VFL, Grok?
I didn't actually. No, I ended up being busy getting ready for the.
You got to see Banks' goal. I've
heard it was a ripper, but now I was busy getting everything ready for the party. So
you got to see Banks' goal. See, we've got an opportunity here. I reckon Jack should go around again. He's still getting shots on goal, right? And his experience and leadership, the way he teaches on the forward line. But let's embrace. You know how we say embracing imperfections. Let's embrace our age gap that we've got. We've got elite 24 and unders. Let's fucking fill the team up with them, with smattering of experience. We've got Grimes, an experienced footballer. We've got Broad experience. Let's start filling that up. Let's start filling up the midfield while we've got Prestia basically in his prime, if he stays healthy. We're smattering, and we've got Jack Graham, who's having a great year, completely underrated year. Started off slow because he had no pre-season, but now he's showing what he's got. We've got Baker in there. And guys, Baker's not going anywhere. I got flooded from texts from Bert, Tiger Saul, butthurt Tiger supporters, which I'm one of those. Oh, he's fucking going now. He's not going. I've had that confirmed 100%. He's not leaving. Bolton 100% is not leaving. You can put those. We've got a lot of worries. That too, you don't have to worry about.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a look at the Freo games. So Freo, they went down to the Swans.
Before do we want to do votes for the?
Oh, does anyone deserve? Okay, go on.
Yeah,
Who was your 3-2-1?
3 for me was probably Graham. I think he was probably our best in terms of overall over the night. 2, I'd probably give to Short, as he was the only one who really generated anything off halfback. And 1, I'd probably go Cumberland. I think he was probably the other one because his pressure acts were outstanding, and he was the only one who generally looked like he'd give a decent go. I think Tarrant unlucky. Tarrant a little bit unlucky.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I've gone
3. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone 3, same 3 as you, Jack Graham. I thought his game was immense. He was everywhere for a period of game. He had a really good game. 2 for me, I went actually Cumberland. I thought what he showed, he started crashing into packs. That's what we're seeing the worst of him as his confidence build, plus playing injured too. A lot of players can't do that. He can. He looked hurt for periods of that and still had effect. And 1 for me was a bit of a toss-up. But I did end up going, fun enough for me, was Tarrant. I just thought he kept his man. His man got injured, but other than that, anyone that he was on was closed off. You didn't have to worry, which was good. So, yeah, that's mine. What about you, Mick?
I would have agreed with yours, Tiggs and Graham, Cumberland, Tarrant. But, it was a tough one to give votes for outside of those guys.
Yeah, it was really down game.
All right, on to Freo. We got them this Friday night. I know we said it last week, but we really do need to see a bounce back after that. And I was shocked we didn't see it after the Gold Coast game. I would be even more shocked if we didn't see it after the performance against the Kangaroos. There's just no other way around it. We have to come out and get our shit together. So Freo lost the weekend to Sydney, so they'll be out for a bit of redemption as well. And we really need to win this game to keep our season alive, essentially, because we've been blessed with some of the other results around us going our way for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. We could have quite easily been 12th already and out of contention. But, for whatever reason, things have gone our way. We're still in the 8 and we need to win this game to keep our spotty a grok. What's the plan? How do we turn around what we witnessed on Saturday night into something a bit more familiar and, to get a win against Freo?
Contest through the midfield. I know I've said it every time I've been on here, but Freo are very much a midfield-oriented side with Brayshaw. Brayshaw is in ripping form this year. They've got, obviously, Mundy's been doing well, just doesn't seem to slow down. Their midfield is the main place that they generate a lot of their scores from, and it comes from Sean Darcy. Like, he is a fantastic ruckman, extremely underrated, I'd say. Like, for me, he's very much a more athletic version of Nank, and that's a dangerous combination with that aggression, that strength, but also the mobility. So I definitely think our midfield is going to be tested. I definitely think that we need to be ready for that onslaught, because we can't get jumped like we did against North's midfield, because let's be honest, they dominated us. Gold Coast midfield dominated us. It's the same issue week in, week out, where a lot of the sides now have started loading up on their midfield, especially with the 6-6-6 rule now, where if you can get that clean ball out of the middle, it sets you up for so many things going forward. So I definitely think that we do need to be a lot more defensive oriented against Freo, and it also puts someone on fucking Fife. I mean, the amount of times where we just let that man run free, even though he's not in the greatest form. But if I swear that we see Fife get another 3 Brownlow votes against us, it's definitely something that I'm gonna rage at, because you don't get beaten by the devil, and Fife has torn us to shreds every time he's played us, I'd say, over the last 7 or 8 years. It's almost an automatic lock for 3 votes against us. And it's one of those ones where I do think we need to bring someone like Ross in. I definitely think Ross would make a massive difference. I do think we need to shore up our midfield.
Good call to man up Monday as well, Lady Hawkeye. For the love of God, if the game's even remotely close, put the whole team on him. I don't care. We can't have that happen again.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm worried about this game because they've got a really high quality midfield. They've got quality in their back line isn't the best, but they've got good footballers, emerging footballers. the forward line worries me, mate. If our back line, but that's our strength is our back line, even though we're leaking goals because of the lack at midfield. I reckon offense bleeds into defense, defense bleeds in offense. So if one's not working, it'll affect the other. But we're just going to make sure we're playing Richmond football. If we can contain their midfield like we did against Geelong, right? We can contain their midfield and then work to our strength by getting that ball forward. We'll be in a good chance to win this game. We're not out of it at all, but we've got to get these boys into form. We've got to get them into form. What my worry is if that we go out in the first quarter and we kick something like 1-5, 1-4, it's really going to set the tone for the rest of the game. But in saying that, if they're going to be hurting. They'll come out to prove a point, and what a better way to restore some pride is beating a top 4 side, right? So, and it's here. They don't travel well here.
That marble though, which is a bit disappointing.
Which sucks balls. Is it a Friday night? Did you say?
Yeah, Friday night. And I think what you said there, Tiggs, to having a better top 4 side is spot on. Like we've struggled to beat anyone in the 8, let alone the 4. If they want to actually show themselves and the support that they think their season is still alive and they can still have an impact, they've got to put in a good effort this week against Freo and show that they can turn it around, they can learn. Look, I know a week's a long time in football, and we know that our best is good enough to beat most teams. It's just unlocking that magic to be able to get it out there and happening for 4 quarters. And you're right, that their midfield's scary. Even Will Brodie, Caleb Sarong, Brayshaw, Akers, like they run deep and they run hard, they're skilled. And it's an area we could definitely get exposed. What about their forwards, though, Grock? Tabiner, Lob. Darcy's going to wander down there at some point.
Yeah.
Lob. If Gibcus is out with the shoulder, I don't know whether we're a little bit stretched. I mean, you would have to say that Bob has to play down back.
Lob is the main one. Lob has been in ripping form over the past couple of weeks, and Tabiner is no slouch either. Tabiner usually plays reasonably well against us. Anyway, he's one of those, very much like the Travis Cloak, you'd always back him in for a good game against us, like no matter how he plays against anyone else. And Tabiner is that player who's come a long way in the last 3 or 4 years, and probably one of the most underrated key forwards in the league right now, Tabiner. He's got a great set of hands. His kicking is a little iffy. It's his only downside. But, yeah, our back line is going to be stretched. Obviously, Lob is 206 or something centimetres, big lad. Tabiner himself is a very big boy. Griffin Logue, who's playing down there, is another one who's 195, 196. So they're playing the 3 talls down there. But the thing is, all 3 of them are extremely mobile. They all like to run and lead, and that's something that we do generally struggle with, is those bigger forwards who are mobile. So it's definitely something that we're going to have to be wary of, and I definitely think we have to play Bolter back. Bolter has to play back. With his athleticism, he needs to take either Tabiner or Lob. He needs to be able to be the one that gets up high enough to give the spoil to Lob or match Tabiner on the lead. It's sort of tricky because they've also got some pretty exciting small forwards in Liam Henry. They've got Michael Frederick, Walters. They've got quite a few. So we need to get that balance right. We can't go in too short, but we can't go in too tall, because they absolutely will tear us apart. Their forwards are solid if they get the ball that their midfield is giving them. So, yeah, I definitely think that Gibcus being out, I don't think we bring another defender in. I do think we bring Bolter back, and I think that frees up us bringing someone like a Stack or someone like that to come in, even a Ross or something.
Wouldn't mind Mansell having a crack.
But I do think, in terms of our back line, our midfield and our forward line, I do think our back line is probably the most solid aspect, even though we're getting scored heavily against. I do think we need to reinforce either our forward line or our midfield against Freo.
But your Tiggs, who's coming in? We've obviously heard today that there's no Dusty, no Lynch. They're still not right. And the gift is probably a bit of an assumption. Stack might be available. I would say they would err on the side of caution. But
I reckon it's got to be Ross, if he's depending on his knee, has to come in. I like one of the audience put down that you need a pure midfield against a pure midfield. So, we've got Sonzi, he's a pure mid. You get Prestia, pure mid. You got Cochin, pure mid, and add Ross in a pure inside role. I reckon we need to. One thing with Freo, which we've shown against when we have played them, they've generally been close games for large chunks of it. Then someone will break out. One thing that does trouble Freo and the losses that they've had is speed. Does trouble Freo. They've got, Brayshaw's a quality player, but he's a medium paced. They've got a lot of one pace players within that centre midfield. So we need to exploit it. Yeah, so we need to exploit it. So I would go for Banks. I would go for a player like Banks. We've got Marlon Pickett on one wing. I reckon we'll go to Banks. You know what, Banks? This is your wing. Go for it. Or Hugo. Give him a license and put Banks in half-back flank. Or Banks in the forward pocket. We just need to get in a couple of rotations. No Arts, no Castagna. Those two spots, let's load them up with speed. And that will give us, I think, a little bit of an edge. I'm not too worried about their forwards versus our backline. Funny enough, Fife is a new dynamic. But one thing with the way that they enter forward, we're pretty good against to chop out the lead mark type game. We historically are quite good at that because we do have a zone off defence. That's naturally how Freo plays. So I reckon we're going to be right. But for me, my real major concern is if our midfield drop off, Morris Rowley, Juddy, that's exactly the point. I don't care which name that you put him in, put a couple of speedy players in. But for me, my worry is if our midfield drops concentration at all, we'll get split open, and we get split open pretty quickly. Because one thing Freo does do, when they're on prey, they don't go to the pockets. They go directly down the guts. And that's my concern. I reckon Short's been coached a bit against. He's supposed to be a defensive sweeping mid, and he's getting caught out a fair bit. Caught out on the weekend. I hope he, tidies up on that. But look, if we want to play finals, we win the game. That's as simple as it is to me. The team that we've got is good enough. It's the want for me. I won't accept. We're just not in form. Rest Titch. I'll probably put him as the sub on.
What's everyone's view on Edwards, his season and how it's going? And
I haven't changed since bloody round 5 when I identified this is not the Edwards that I've seen. He's supposed to only be playing. My personal opinion, he's a perfect sub for me. Just put him on when there's an injury, so hopefully he plays like 15 minutes a quarter and he can do all his creative, use all of his energy in the one burst. He's cooked. And which it kills me to say, he's still got his brilliance about him, and he'll do some brilliant things because you don't lose ability. You don't lose talent. You just lose the ability to execute on that talent as consistently as you could when you're in your prime. I reckon let's conserve him. 5-minute bursts. He's like Cochin. We've got so many like that. Cochin's another one. Should be, 5 minutes per quarter, if at all. So, I'd bench him.
I think there's been a little bit of sentimentality with Titch in that if he had been, say, 27, 28 games from 300, I doubt he's played all the games that he has this year. But I think the fact now that this season hasn't really had too many good news stories for us in regards to how the season's played out, I do think Titch playing 300 is a massive thing for the club, especially with our Indigenous culture and everything. So I do think that's probably going to play a part in terms of just boosting morale a little bit in terms of loading up for finals, sort of like we did with Dusty when he signed in 2017, where we waited. We knew he'd signed, but waited that 2 or 3 weeks to announce it, where we'd get that massive sort of emotional surge of energy out of it, that momentum. So I definitely think that Shedder playing 300 probably been carried in a few games. He has been drop worthy in quite a few of them this year, but at the same time, I think he's had the runs on the board and deserves to go out on his time. I just think that based on this year, I don't think he should be going on next year.
But he deserves to get to 300. He deserves it. It's a must. I don't care about his form. He has to get to 300.
And to this point, Lady Hawkeye, that preseason game against Hawthorn, watching that, I thought, holy shit, Edwards has gone to another level this year. He was unbelievable. I know it's only preseason, but he was phenomenal, and that gave me really great hope. But yeah, look, I'm happy for him to get to 300. He's done a hell of a lot for our club, and I think he deserves the recognition and the accomplishment. But I do think the sub role could actually be more beneficial for him. Just so, yeah, with his spurts, he's still got the class. But I'm hoping that if we do happen to stumble into finals, then he might kind of turn it on again.
It's also important to have a look at our midfield this year. Just had no consistency. So Edwards hasn't had that protection of being the fourth or fifth stringer. He's second or third. So I think that's probably played a little bit into it as well. I mean, getting thrown in the deep end when you're, 31, 32 years old, having to play predominantly inside, it's not exactly his greatest strong suit. So bring Dusty, have a fit Prestia constantly in there, have Koch who's coming back, a fully fit Koch. That goes a long way for Edwards playing his natural game that we've seen him play over the last few years.
And on Lambert, he was walking the boundary line after the game, whatever. He was limping just walking. So I don't hold out any great hope for him to play much more in the near future. But yeah, I would dearly love for him to get on the park ASAP because we're a much better side with him in it, but only if he's fit and able to do so. Dustin Martin coming back too would obviously be a good help too. I can't catch a break with these work PC updates. 8 minutes, I'm going to restart again, but that's all right. We're almost finished anyway. All right, well, we will get a tip, including margin for this one. Grok, what are you going with?
Had to be me. I hope I'm wrong, but I just think their midfield is going to overwhelm us. I think Freo by 7 points. I think it's going to be another close game, but I just think they'll get us.
Yeah, fair enough. Tiggs?
Yeah, I'm backing this in. I reckon we'll win by 18.
I think we'll win because it's illogical. Like lose the game you shouldn't lose, and then come out and win the game that we'd probably be tipped to lose. So I reckon we'll win by, I'll say 20 points, but I'll take any 4 points if I'm honest. Like we sort of said, if they're serious about wanting to play finals, this is make or break. They've got to win. Pretty much have to win every game from here out. I know we've said it the last few weeks, but we weren't thinking we were going to drop the North game, maybe the Gold Coast one, but it's now make or break. So we'll see how we go. Not a reminder, but news that next Monday night from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, Ben Holland will be joining us.
Yes.
So thank you to Nick for organising that. So next Monday, so we've got him for half an hour. So make sure you're tuning in next Monday night at 8:30 to 9 o'clock with Ben Holland will be joining us, and then we'll carry on doing the rest of the show as per normal. So that'll be very exciting. Kane, I'll be jumping on stream straight after this if you want to watch. So Pink Panthers, get around us playing some Fall Guys. But not very good to have you gentlemen on. It sucks coming onto these shows after a loss like that, but we pick up the pieces, we go again, and we'll see where it lands us next week. So it does not look good. Richmond by 50. Yeah, very good. We'll take that. Shitfish by 71. Tigers by 5. Yeah, good to see some tips coming through. We've got to win, folks. We've got to win. There's just no other way about it. All right, we will have a trade show soon. Tiggs, am I correct?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I've gone with Darcy, Fogarty, Hopper. Everyone's well known. I've been beginning of the year. I've got a couple of I've got some really nice tidbits. I'm not sitting on them. It's just I want to make sense of them. I want to get rid of the smoke and as much as you can this time of year. So in about 2 or 3 weeks, I think I'll be ready to go, mate, and it'll be a good 35 minutes. It's a fair bit. We've been at the draft heavily. I think we've gone now, okay, we've got good quality kids. This is the targets we need to hit. Let's just bring them in. And that's what we're doing. So
Sounds good. All right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Make sure you do get along to Marvel on Friday night. I know it can be a bit painful on Friday nights and the travel in. But the boys do need the support. Make sure we get some good numbers there. Be nice and loud, and hopefully we can get over the line. So, all right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Grok. Thank you, Tiggs.
Matt, just quickly, us by a country mile. If we do get him to move, again, it hasn't come across the line. By an absolute country mile. Then the Cats.
Very good.
Yeah.
Watch this space. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen, for tuning in. Much appreciated. We love the support.
No worries.
Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, whatever platform you're on to help us grow. And we will see you all next Monday, hopefully after a win this time, which would be nice for a change.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Till next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.